everyone, you're watching The Last Word with me, Marya Shakil. As India celebrated an amazing win against New Zealand, riding on the back of Mohammad Shami's fantastic 7-wicket haul and Kohli's blistering 50th ton, a controversy of another kind broke out in the cricketing world on Wednesday. Masaba Gupta, designer, slammed former Pakistan cricketer Ramiz Raja for laughing at a racist comment directed towards her parents. West Indies batting great Vivian Richards and veteran actor Neena Gupta. In a social media post, she said, and I quote her, "Dear Ramiz Raja, sir, grace is a quality few have. My father, mother and I have it in spades. You have none. Sickening to see you laugh on national TV in Pakistan at something the world stopped laughing at about 30 years back. Step into the future. All three of us are here with our chin up," unquote. Masaba's reaction came after a 2-month-old clip of Raja laughing at the quip made on a Pakistani TV news channel started circulating on social media. In the video, Raja, the former Pakistan Cricket Board chief, can be seen sniggering when a comic on the show made the objectionable remarks after saying that Richards broke her heart when he started dating Gupta. So the big questions that we are asking on the show tonight: can racist comments really be funny? And why is misogyny so deep-rooted? The question is also, cricket and racism, why don't we draw a line? And do commentators on cricket have a white man's hangover? And does laughing at a racist joke make one complicit? Joining me on the show, Dilip Cherian, founder and consulting partner, Perfect Relations. He's an image guru. We have Akash Banerjee, political satirist and the host of the Desh Bhakt, he is known as. Nasir Abdullah is actor. Shrimoy Kundu is community founder, status single, author and also columnist on sexuality and gender. We have Noor Zahira, journalist and author. Omar Alavi is a sports journalist of Voice of America Urdu, joining me from Karachi. Omar, let's be clear that the remarks were deeply objectionable. But what's most worrying is also the mindset, because casual racism and sexism seems to be so commonplace that men and women laugh at it. It is not really gender-specific reaction anymore.
Well, the thing is that everywhere, be it India or in Pakistan, people tend to laugh on things that they don't understand. And racism is one thing that they don't know about anything about. Ramiz Raja making a comment on, they did not make a comment on the joke, but he laughed. And that laugh was something that he should have contained. He should not have laughed. He should have corrected the anchor. He should have corrected the comedian on the show. But he did not. Because considering that
he is being criticized and condemned, overall, are you getting a sense also in Pakistan that because of who he is a former chief of Pakistan Cricket Board, his reaction, his actions have to be far more responsible?
Yes, he's a former captain as well, and he is highly educated. That is one of the plus points of his that he has done his MBA and also played cricket for Pakistan, represented Pakistan in one-days and tests, and also was the chairman of Pakistan Cricket Board a couple of years back, and he has also been the CEO of Pakistan Cricket Board for a few months. So coming from him, it is something that should not have happened. And I think that Ramiz Raja should have been careful in selecting the programs he should be attending. He should not have been on the show. And had he been active, participating in the show, he should have corrected the comedian and the anchor.
Yes. So laughing makes him complicit is the general sense because he is Ramiz Raja. Dilip Cherian, He is no ordinary person sitting in that, as a commentator. He is who he is, and that makes it even worse.
Certainly, people of gravitas need to understand that they have a far greater responsibility. But I think that, without trying to cast a slur on an entire community, let me say that there are higher tonalities of patriarchy and, color coding, casteism, creedism in some communities. And we need to recognize that there is the elephant in the room as far as India is concerned. We have seen around our cricket episodes also similar kind of issues which we may or may not want to paper over. But the fact is that this needs to be called out, it needs to be trashed, and people need to be held to account. Unless it is done each and every time, Marya, the thing is, people will carry on thinking that they have the shield of cover because of who they are. We need to recognize that the more important they are, the more careful and more measured they need to be.
Yes. And Akash, what we have seen, the manner in which Neena Gupta and Masaba have conducted themselves, it has been very unabashed temperament. They have spoken about their life decisions and choices. Neena Gupta saying that she was a single mother in the 1980s and she chose to never marry Sir Viv Richard, and raising her daughter all by herself. They have spoken about it publicly. So there's nothing under the wraps really for people to react the way they did in that cricket show.
Two quick points. It's fascinating how we are still living in the distant past. You're absolutely right. But 30 years ago, maybe Masaba might not have come out and made a tweet, if there was a Twitter 30 years ago, and said this. There was a time when this was supposedly there was a time when this was all shame, or shame on you, or we will snigger, we will laugh at you. But that is 30 years ago. And that's exactly what she writes in her tweet. Grow up. This is absolutely a new time. And this shows that the mentality has been still stuck and warped in time. And of course, it is a reflection on the society. But I'll just echo what, first and foremost, of course, it should be called out. And unless until you call it out like this on a tweet, unabashedly, it's not going to stop. So first and foremost, kudos to Masaba for actually doing this, and kudos to Neena for absolutely coming out in the open and saying that I have no qualms whatsoever. But more importantly, we have to understand, look at where the conversation is. Your country is in such a state, your cricket is in such a state. Why is it that you have to dig up something, a joke so-called from 30 years ago, if you find it a joke, from 30 years ago? Why is it? Are you running out of content? Or is it because you are so incapacitated to talk about the real issues? And secondly, just to echo what Dilip is saying, and I know I'll get flagged for it as well, is that the elephant in the room is that while Ramiz is a person of repute and responsible and he should have conducted himself better, I can point out far worse things that have been said by politicians both in India and in Pakistan. It is a societal problem. Bacche hain, galti ho jati hai.
Yes.
That is the kind of statement that politicians have made after a gang rape. So let's not kid ourselves and to say that this is an isolated incident. Yes, he's been caught, he's been called out, amazing, but there's bigger people causing bigger problems.
Yes, and Nasir, do you think colonial hangover has something to do with racism being so prevalent across the subcontinent?
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far, but the three expressions that actually come to my mind is stupid, silly, and unnecessary. These are the three expressions that sum up what has happened here. But unfortunately, here is the deal. When it's a comedy show, a lot of stuff goes in the name of the comedy. So unfortunately, sometimes the guest has no option but to, since it's a live show or whatever, but to laugh. You know what? Many times I hear things I don't even understand. And because I see other people laughing, I laugh too. I'm at times not really connected. So a lot of this stuff happens too. So frankly, it is not a big deal, but yes, as I said, stupid, silly, and arrogant. And I will go a step ahead. This sort of humor is also rampant within India. The Kapil Sharma show is a lot about he makes observations and makes the snide remarks about the people's form, about their weight, and about other things. So this kind of form of a way to, it's called bawdy humor, BAWDY, bawdy humor. So it is sort of cheapish, but unfortunately it has a market and people fall for it. A lot of jokes by Kapil, for example, I find reprehensible, but we're okay with it. So my point is, what I actually find really wrong with the cricketers is really this: the Pakistani guys, they have a tendency to show off. For example, when once they won a match, the player at the end began to offer namaz. I think that's a load of rubbish. Do not ever do that. Don't show off. You have to pray anyways, whether you win or you lose. What are you trying to show off? That Allah made this big deal for you? I find it wrong. And one of the players many years ago, I think it was in Zamamul Haq, he said, we are here and we want the Muslims all over the world to support us. And I want to say, shut up. I'm from India. I don't want to support you. Why should we support you? So they are a bit strange. The Pakistanis have a quirky sense of humor, and often enough, it goes over the top.
Yes.
Like they did this. This is a racist thingy. Unfortunately, under the guise of humor, they're able to...
But it's a cricket show. I think, Shrimoy, increasingly what is coming across is that the sense of platform is also getting lost. The subject is cricket, but you bring in personal relationships in order to mock at something, and then everything gets lost here.
Well, we unfortunately live in a time when cricket is not just cricket. Let's also put that on the table. Because today, we are all waxing eloquent about, how amazing Virat Kohli is, and he blew kisses at his wife.
That's right. And once upon a time, she was...
Yes. Yeah, but just a couple of years ago, if you recall, when Virat was out of form, it was Anushka's presence, which was, people were even saying कि वो अपशगुन है, वो क्यों आती है, उसके आने से उसकी फिल्म भी flop करती है और उसका boyfriend का ये भी होता है. Then they broke up. So it was like, ये मनहूस उसकी जिंदगी से चली गई. So I think, it's very unfortunate that somebody of the stature of Ramiz Raja, who's an illustrious cricketer, he has to make a dig, or, as you're saying, just laugh like a buffoon. This is buffoonery. It's not comedy. It's, basically, it's, in a way, you're slut shaming a woman. You are actually, making very, very, derogatory remarks about a family, which to me is a completely modern family. And, as the community founder of Status Single, which is India's first and only community for urban single women, let me tell you, these kind of families are no longer an anomaly. And even the Supreme Court in India has today widened the definition of family to include a live-in couple, a same-sex couple, a single mother. So obviously, Mr. Raja is stuck in the dark ages when these things were, my God, usko to, she produced a love child, and, then she got married again. But also, Neena Gupta has also been a person who's been very open about her life.
Yes.
She has provided details to people about how she and Vivian parted amicably, how she was open about the pregnancy, how she has taken his support, in raising Masaba. Masaba's wedding was such a beautiful culmination of that bond, Even recently, I follow her on Instagram. She put a beautiful picture, I think, on Diwali, that, her father was there.
Yes, her father
was
there.
Her stepdad. So I think, the point I'm trying to make is, cricketers, today they are not just cricketers. Let's face it. We know what they eat, what they wear, where they holiday. We are stalking them and seeing, where they are going on their honeymoons. What is it, that is plaguing them mentally. So everything is out there. It's that age. But having said that, I would expect somebody like Mr. Ramiz Raja, whose own team is, in the doldrums, as all the commentators are saying here. It's really floundering. Forget the country. If we only look at cricket, if we are, respectable and only talk about cricket on this show,
that in itself is a problem for him.
That itself is a problem.
Absolutely.
So, for somebody to laugh like a buffoon on his colleague after
there have been a lot of discussions, particularly on the skin shade in the past. And we as a society seem to have moved ahead, forcing Fair and Lovely to also do a rethink, So I think that's a great move ahead. But when you hear these words come in on these platforms, I'm identifying a cricket show talking about Neena Gupta and Sir Viv Richard in the manner in which it has been done. It actually is a reflection on what is so ingrained in us. I was reading some reactions that have come in from the Pakistani media where they say something very, very interesting, where they say that, it's about schooling as well. They've gone on to say that. The upbringing, the schooling, everything is being questioned here.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, but when do we stop slut shaming, Neena Gupta? When does it stop? Because she's moved on, she's happily remarried, right? Or rather, she's had her first marriage, she's very happy. The husband is completely cognizant with her, former lover and the father of her child. It's a happy family. So
and
I think,
to judge that? Yes.
We are stuck in the Middle Ages.
Noor,
racism
come in, please. Yes.
is so ingrained in us. We have to just...
And I'm in agreement with what has been said by Masaba in that tweet, that 30 years ago it happened. My family has moved on. It's time for you to do the same. Yes, please go ahead, Noor.
Right. So like we were saying, there is no more a line between comedy and being, misogynist and being all sorts of rubbish on the internet. People, it's not just about cricket, but when you go on to Instagram reels of a lot of people, a lot of dark-skinned influencers, people go commenting saying that you probably need a D-tan, you probably need this, you probably need that. And in a country like India or anywhere across the world where cricket is such a big thing, people have this whole idea of, worshipping the cricketers. People listen, people follow to what they have to say. And when cricketers such as Ramiz Raja will go on to make such racist jokes, it's only that they only validate others making such snide remarks. And, we need to hold them accountable because it's not about retribution. It's about setting a precedent that doing such jokes is not okay. It's not normal. I mean, on a personal level, I've seen a lot of people making remarks to women who've just delivered babies and telling them that, and that kid has hardly been in this world for about 2 to 3 days. And they come and tell a pregnant mother that, your baby is dark. You probably should start giving this and this, applying this, doing this tail malish, doing that to the kid. And like Nasir sir was mentioning about Kapil Sharma show, that show is nowhere close to comedy. There is nothing. I mean, if you're calling objectifying women, talking about their shape. I mean, there's this lead in the show who is his wife, and the only jokes I hear about his wife is about how big her lips are, how thick her lips are. And there's nothing other than that he's talking. I mean, if it's a cricket show and they're talking about color, I can only say that, it only talks about how lack of content they have or how bad the teams are performing, that they have to
and it's a very, very popular cricket show, Akash.
So I'm just cringing right now. Can we just throw this notion out that this was comedy? This is not comedy in capitals. Whatever happened, the jokes that there were, I mean, Kapil, of course, that itself is debatable. I completely agree with Nasir sir. But whatever happened in this Pakistani, I had a look at it again because before coming to this show, and I know that I guess you don't want to show it. It's in very poor taste. I understand why you don't want to show it. But besides the sexism, the words that have been used, I mean, that word has to be mentioned here, Kalu. I mean, it obviously shows the lack of taste, the lack of education, but please, no self-respecting comedian will do body shaming, leching, 30 years purana sexism, or call somebody Kalu. So can we just understand that this was absolute crash? trash show and it is not comedy. Whether it happens in Pakistan or somebody does it in India, this is not comedy. This is complete lack of education or knowing what a comic can do. And of course, it needs to be called out. But I'm just cringing is because I do part of it for a living.
Yes.
Ask any comedian. They will never say that this is okay. It can pass under the guise of comedy. No, it can't. You don't make fun of people who are weak. You punch up in comedy or a satire. You don't talk about 30 years purana sexism or call somebody Kalu. Being racist is not comedy.
Okay.
I just wanted to clear that.
Okay, that's very well put, Akash. Umair, this isn't the first time a Pakistani cricketer has come under the spotlight for supporting disparaging remarks or making one themselves, because we had seen what happened earlier. Abdul Razak received backlash for making misogynistic comments against actor Aishwarya Rai Bachchan. Of course, he apologized later. Then you have Bangladeshi cricketer Tanzim Hassan, who was embroiled in this entire controversy over misogynistic social media posts which condemned working women. And that happened just days after making a brilliant international debut. I'm not trying to make this about a particular country, cricketers and their commentary. It's about commentary in general. Is there not a dip in the nature of commentary that you are started making these, which is hardly casual, I will say. It is direct, misogynistic, sexist comments.
It has to do with the upbringing, the education, the schooling, because these cricketers, they turn to cricket when they are very young. So many of them don't have proper education, but Ramiz Raja did have proper education, so that's what it's surprising. As for Abdul Razak's comment, everybody in Pakistan criticized him, and people made him apologize, and that's what counts as well. The same thing goes for Ramiz Raja. That I'm sure that he will be apologizing soon. Right now he's in India. He's doing commentary for the World Cup, and I guess he will apologize either on his YouTube channel or while talking to who knows, Sir Viv himself, who is also in India. Okay. So it was, and what's surprising, they have both played cricket together. They are, if not good friends, they are colleagues. So Ramiz Raja should have interfered with the anchors and asked them to stop that silly joke, stupid joke, but he didn't, and that's what bothers me.
And that bothers all of us. Dilip Cherian?
I think what is dangerous is that as these things get dredged up, we pull out examples. But the problem is that cricketers are role models for a whole generation of the young. I hope this does not result in a rash of people using words as unacceptable as Kalu. That is what my real anxiety is. And we all need to watch for it, call it out, and ensure that it stops.
Will it really stop, Nasir Abdullah? I mean, celebrities are role models. They have a huge role to play. And cricketers and cricket in general in India is almost like religion in India. And here we have cricketers making the most insensitive comments, and even if they are not making it, they are certainly participants in it.
Yeah, well, I'm not very surprised about this happening also, in the sense that Pakistan has been involved with India bashing for like over 40, 50 years, and I'm not very surprised. But I sort of take some sort of a sympathy for Ramiz, because here's the deal. He heard a joke. Before he had a time to think, everybody laughed. Oh, this happened because she rhymed it. So when you rhyme something and all, it seems. So, I mean, it was wrong, but before you have the time, it is done and over with. You go along, you laugh. You don't realize the gravity of the stupidity and the racistic aspect of your statement. Even though it is said in humor, now because it is said in humor, most people will just laugh it off and move on. Unfortunately, he didn't have the time. That's what I feel. Having said that, he does, and I'm sure he will express his regret for having allowed this to happen, because it was a very cheap cheap sort of a joke, if at all it was a joke. It was very cheap because it was very racist.
I would say
and it was
the joke is now
unthinkable.
on Ramiz Raja himself. The final
Absolutely.
words to the women on the panel. Shri Moi, to you.
Absolutely.
Well, I think that, I completely agree with, the commentators on the panel that it's extremely derogatory. Also, I don't think that this has anything to do with a person's education. Because, sometimes you have people who are extremely well educated, who have, racist, homophobic, and extremely misogynistic streaks in them. So Ramiz Raja is very well educated. If you do a background check on Ramiz Raja, he's not really somebody who's, risen from a very low middle. It's not like that. And also, at the end of the day, I feel there are two things. One is him laughing. He didn't, whether, he just went along with the flow, because most of these comedy shows, you have that recorded laughter. So everybody is laughing. Before you can react, people has rahe. So, one is that he didn't really take a stand and say, you know what, it's not funny. Maybe he couldn't do that. Most of these people are paid to be judges or, participants on the show. So they are also protecting their image. The second thing is, like I'm saying, that as a feminist and as
Then
a
he
woman,
should condemn
I think
it,
he should be ashamed.
and he should take that
He
up
should be
with
ashamed.
with the producers and the directors of that show, that he is being shown in a poor light.
Yeah,
If he
and
did not
also,
do it.
he's been shown in a poor light, but also I think, he should be ashamed because, as a man who represents South Asia, he's an icon of his country in a sport which is considered religion. It's like opium for the masses, like it is in our country. So, by not just making a comment on a former colleague's color, but also, dragging that person's personal life, his past love affair, his daughter who's now happy, they, as I said, they are a prototype of a modern family. What he is doing is also, he is a terrible role model for the women and the youngsters of his country.
Yes.
And this is where I feel we don't just need women to, fight for women. We also need feminist men. We need feminist role
And a
models.
number of them are on this panel
Feminist
who
men
have
on
really
this
called
panel.
out Ramiz
Exactly.
Raja today.
Exactly. So,
Shri Moi-
shame on you, Ramiz Raja. Shame on you. As a woman of the South Asian continents, who loves cricket, I feel ashamed. I used to actually like Ramiz Raja's cricket. I'm ashamed of him as a human being.
All right. Thank you so much, Umair, Noor, Shri Moi, Nasir, Akash, and Dilip Cherian. Of course, time has also come for perhaps Ramiz Raja to come clean and apologize for what has been a completely distasteful event. That's all from me. Thanks so much for watching.